had to fight other things.
When I'm back in the White House, we will expel the warmongers, the profiteers, and take over our government, and we will restore world peace.
Most Republicans have backed the Venezuela operation, but now Trump's changing definition of America First before our eyes threatens to widen a rift with his MAGA base. Former ally Marjorie Taylor Greene said bluntly on social media, "This is what many in MAGA thought they voted to end. Boy, we were wrong." Joining us now are Cara Vote, politics reporter for The Washington Post, and former Congressman Denver Riggleman, who is no longer affiliated with that party. Cara, you have essentially been embedded with MAGA for the past month, from being at turning points to Mar-a-Lago to sitting with us here today. What's MAGA saying about yesterday beneath the public proclamations, aside from Marjorie Taylor Greene? Because, I mean, Steve Bannon led a show yesterday with high praise for Donald Trump's operation.
And I think Bannon is actually the key here, because he did lead with high praise. However, he also compared what could happen in Venezuela to what happened with the Bush administration in Iraq. I think a lot of people right now are cautiously excited about seeing a regime change in Venezuela. They're not excited about the potential of being mired in a long, drawn-out regime, overseeing what's happening there with the transition. I also think that the way that the president has couched this in law enforcement has been very appealing to the MAGA base. We know that's very important to them. And I think that that is something that they are publicly and privately celebrating.
It's interesting because this is a leftist dictator, right? And you see how Trump treats the dictators who are a little more conservative, and it's very different. I want to play, Congressman, some sound from yesterday during the press conference. Our colleague Alex Tibet asked, I thought, one of the most important questions to President Trump yesterday.
Mr. President, why is running a country in South America America first?
Well, I think it is because we want to surround ourselves with good neighbors. We want to surround ourselves with stability. We want to surround ourselves with energy. We have tremendous energy in that country. It's very important that we protect it.
Well, what I've said and what we've said on this show for a while is that he is no longer like pure MAGA, right? Or pure America First. It is a different strain or variation of what he started out with, where Marjorie Taylor Greene is actually where the movement started, right? Which is like, don't go in. It's not our problem. We don't need to fix it. So when you think about the ways in which Republicans and his base have bent themselves into pretzels over the years to kind of be in line with whatever President Trump is saying or doing, do you see this as a possible split, or does it matter about the actual end result here?
And it's a great question. I think it's sort of additive, right? I mean, when you're talking about MAGA itself, I live in a rural district here in Virginia. And by the way, I want to say that any advice or any questions I hear is not investment advice, by the way. And you'll see what I mean, because people are probably looking at Guyana and Suriname right now based on Venezuela. And I know we can get into that in the future. But here's the issue. There's three things happening with sort of this infection in MAGA. I'm not even saying, it really is this. It's almost like sepsis. I think the first thing are the Epstein files because of the conspiratorial nature of MAGA. I think the second thing really is Medicaid, healthcare, ACA, the cuts in the subsidies, because this affects rural America, which is a bunch of red districts, right? R+8 and above districts, which is the other thing which I think is starting to infect and seep into the MAGA base. I think the third thing is MAGA is inherently nationalistic. So when you're looking at this, these are not the base. They're not in policy meetings. They're not looking at what Project 2025 said about re-hemisphering, which is what they said about taking Venezuela in Project 2025. They're looking at more wars. And I think when Marjorie Taylor Greene comes out, I mean, listen, Marjorie Taylor Greene can't be, put on a pedestal, right, as a foreign policy expert at all, but she does know what MAGA basis, because that's what she is. And I think when you put those three things together, and when you see what's happening right now, he's gone against the promises of foreign wars. He's done that, 8 separate countries now that we've invaded or hit with types of armaments, right, or airstrikes. I think these three things together, I think they're starting to build up. I think that's why you're going to see such a big midterm turnout in 2026 for the Democrats, based on the election infrastructure and security. So again, I think it's these three things that sort of combine, and I think this Venezuela strike is one of those things where people are looking like, this is not MAGA. We are now right back to sort of this Rumsfeld doctrine, which is just incredible to listen again with me in military history, Air Force intelligence, me working with NSA and things like that. It is incredible to me to see this happening again.
I'm not going to repeat the French phrase I used.
It was very impressive
at the beginning of this show.
I can.
Ça change. Kara, I want to read something from The Atlantic. Michael Shearer asked the president this. He writes this. When I caught Donald Trump by phone this morning, the president wanted to make one thing clear. America first means whatever he says it does. Quote, well, considering that I'm the one that developed America first and considering that the term wasn't used until I came along, I think I'm the one that decides that, Trump told me. What is this? Oh, and this is from, this is from June of this year. What is so telling about that from June is that this is what I've been thinking for the last